So we're going to talk about our Boston butt right now. This is one of my favorite cuts and definitely one that people love to get the perfect pulled pork. And what we're going to do is we are going to take about 10 hours to smoke this, about 5 hours of smoke, and then we're going to boat with all sorts of goodness, some butter, some honey, some brown sugar, and then we're going to boat that for about 5 hours before we rest. So what we're going to do first up is actually set up a barbecue. So today we're going to be using our minion method. This is a popular method. We've been using this today already. We've got a few cuts already on the go. So coming down here, we've got our chimney. Make sure you're white all the way over. Really, really important with that. Take this a good little shake, particularly if you're working over wood. Straight into the center right there. Really, really important. What we're going to do now is we're going to grab our wood. Now, lots of people ask me about wood. They ask about, should we take the bark off? Should we leave the bark on? And right now I'm gonna say a good bit of bark gives you a beautiful crust, so don't get too pedantic about it, but you do you. This is gonna be apple wood today, which is perfect for the Boston butts. Putting it by our vents, really important, get that oxygen flow coming all the way through. We're gonna grab our barbecue, pop that on the top, and we're gonna get about 8 liters of water straight into the water dish. Let's go. Keep on pouring. All right, so what is the Boston butt? It's basically the shoulder of the pig, and it's got the scotch attached to it. And what we want to do is you want to make sure that you remove the rib cage underneath. Now, our butcher does this for us. So if you're in a different country other than New Zealand, just go down to your butcher, ask for the Boston butt, which is the shoulder, the rib cage is removed, but the scotch still in it. Now, this is one of the more tougher cuts to go. You've got this rib cage underneath here that we want to get removed. Now, for us, our butcher's already done this, but in case your butcher does not do this, we wanted to show exactly what to do. So just get underneath that rib cage, get your boning knife, and just simply peel it away. You can see we're losing quite a bit of meat, but that's okay. Exposing that beautiful marbling underneath. The Boston butt, of course, being the pork shoulder with the scotch still attached there. Now, really super important, we want to get our pork rind and we want to remove it. If you leave that on, it's going to end up turning to like rubber in a low and slow cook. So what you can do is you can take this off and you can cook that up separately underneath the grill or in a hot barbecue and have your crackling separate. But definitely remove it for this cut. Remember, a lot of your goodness for all these low and slow cuts come from inside the shoulder or inside the low and slow cut rather than what's on top of it. It's got beautiful marbling inside, and we know that that's going to make for a beautiful cook up. You can see here we're actually exposing the pork all the way back and that we're actually getting that fat cap mostly trimmed off. And once again, that is up to you. You can leave as much of that fat cap on as you want to. A lot of people like to leave a good layer of fat cap on that. But for us, we note that we just don't need it. So we just simply take that back as much as we can do. So just check this out. Rind, gone. And once again, as we said, just losing some of that fat. Some people would like to eat it. We find for a lot of people they don't, so we just drop it right back as much as we can do, exposing a lot of that beautiful meat underneath, ready for the seasoning to adhere to make us that perfect bark. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting really hungry just looking at this, because I've got an anticipation in me right now about what that's going to taste like, because I just know the next process is just going to be absolutely fantastic. Yep, last bits of trimming, and that's going to be good to go. And we're just shaping the final bit. You know what I'm thinking? That'll do fine. Let's grab our Boston butt here, and we're going to bring this in nice and central. And it's now time for us to season. All right, so let's talk about seasoning now. Like most of our other cuts, we want to use a bonder. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can also use a hot sauce as a bonder. You could use mustard, you could use anything you want to. But today we're just gonna use a high smoke oil. Give that a good coat. Give her a good rub down, good massage there. And you can use whatever seasoning you want, but today we're gonna be using our Big Butt pork rub. It's got some sugar, some smoked paprika, some beautiful flavors in there. And just like our other cuts, we want to season liberally all the way over. Just remember that your smoke's going to break this down, and when you shred it, you're not going to get a lot of that seasoning in every single bite, so you want to make sure that it's as good if you can get it all the way over. And all right, we want to get both sides, flip it over, and season. Get all the sides. Right at the front, right at the back. All right, let's get this Boston butt, place it on our barbecue. Now, at this point, it's important to remember that you don't need to probe this yet. We're just gonna give it 5 hours of smoke, and then at the boating point, we're gonna probe it then, and we're gonna check on the temperature. We're gonna run this at about 250 to 275 Fahrenheit. Just remember with your temperatures, they're kind of an approximation. Anywhere between 225 and 275 Fahrenheit is bang on the money shot. I used to get pedantic about this all the time. A little bit too high, a little bit too low, don't worry about it. It's gonna take care of itself in the place to the cook. So last thing left to do, let's get this Boston butt under the hood. Perfect. All right, it's been 2 hours. Time for us to check on our Boston butt. And we take a look at that. The color's already started to darken down. We can see the apple wood starting to do its thing, and it is time to spritz. So we're using 1/3 apple cider vinegar, 2/3 water, and we want to get that nice consistency like that, beautiful. And we want to get a nice and even. And what we're doing here is we literally are attracting that smoke into the meat. We want to get that beautiful smoke ring. We want to make sure that it's going to be tasty, and it's also going to look perfect by the time it's done. So yeah, that's looking good. We know that we're aiming for about the 5 hour mark before we boat this. We can definitely see that the bark's not set yet, even though it's looking sensational so far. So I just guess we'll get that back under the hood, and we'll come back and we'll spritz it every hour like we have been. But as for right now, let's get it back under the hood. We are looking at our Boston butt now, 5 hours into our cook. We haven't even checked our temp yet, but let's go and check in and have a look at our Boston butt. That is looking sensational. That bark is looking fantastic. That fat is just starting to break back beautifully like that. So what I'm gonna do is we've done nothing but spritz this every hour for the last 5 hours. And we're just gonna grab that now straight into our boat. And the reason why we're boating it rather than using peach paper is I really want to create a little micro chamber in there. I want to foil it back over, and I want to add some good elements to this to add a little bit of flavor. So here's what we're going to do really simply. We're going to be using butter, brown sugar, and some honey, just in case you weren't sure if it was sweet enough already. We're going to add a little bit more of that, those good things. So we're just going to start by placing our butter on top. I always say that pork and butter were made for each other. Going to grab ourselves some brown sugar, and we're just going to sprinkle it. Note I haven't even checked my temp yet. I'm literally running this off time at the moment. A little bit of brown sugar, and then I'm going to grab myself a good douse of honey. You can use whatever flavor you want. I'm just using Manuka today. and just get that nice drizzle all the way over there. And what that's going to do is the fat's now going to render, and they're going to drop some significant sort of moisture and juice and the fat render all down in there. But I'm also going to give it another spritz as I want to just dissolve some of that brown sugar and create a nice little environment for that. So far, so good. Let's grab ourselves our Weber probe. And this is the leave-in thermometer. You can use whatever one that you want to in the pork, but just off the bone. If you keep on hitting the bone, you can keep on probing till you find that nice deep spot. Just like that. Let's check for our temp. And we should be aiming for around about that 160 to 180 mark. Now, it will vary. But one thing you do want to do is you just want to just check for that transfer, make sure that bark is set. All I'm doing there is I'm just checking to see, am I getting any of that seasoning on my hands? Which I'm not, so we're bang on perfect. And that's exactly what we want it to be. So we're gonna grab ourselves our foil now and tuck it into bed all the way around here. And create that micro chamber that we want to create. We're gonna grab it, pop it back under the hood, grab my probe with it. Yep, this is exactly whereabouts we want to be. I'm expecting this to take around about another 5 hours, but anywhere between 195 and 203, she's good to check in. Just check for that probe tenderness. And by that I mean it should feel like the probe is going in like warm butter without any resistance. Simple as that. So, hey, let's put it back under the hood and check on in as we go. Lovely. So the magical moment has arrived. Our Boston butt has finished the cooking process. So let's take a look. We've hit 203 degrees. We actually hit 204 degrees. We're okay with that. So let's pop it out over here. And let's take a quick peek underneath the foil so you can see what you're looking at. You can see there that we did not have any liquid that we added, but we've got so much juice slopping around inside there, which is so good. And that probe is just like pushing into warm butter. There's literally no resistance whatsoever there. So what I now need to do is to give that a good hour's rest. So I'm going to take my foil again, and I'm going to refoil it back up, like so. And letting that little bit of steam out is actually quite good because it actually stops the cook at that point. Otherwise it will just continue to cook, and then they might be a little bit mushy to the taste, but they should be pulling perfectly. Grab it, put it inside our chili bin. For us, we're just going to put it inside this tray, wrap it up in a towel, really important, and we're going to put a lid on. And if you've got a chili bin, remember, no ice, and you're going to make sure that that's wrapped up. Now, the reason why we give it an hour rest is we want to make sure that it's not going to continue to cook. It's going to stop that cook process. The pork is then just going to firm up that little bit, so when you're shredding, you've got texture first, and that's really important with a pulled pork. You want to make sure that you've got a nice bite on it, but it's also really tender, and that's where the resting process will just come in absolutely beautiful. So simply going to put that away, and then the next time you see us, we are going to be pulling those bones out. We're going to be shredding that pork. We're going to be saucing it up, and then we're going to be getting into it. So tasty, can't wait. Boston butt, 10 hours of cook, 5 hours of smoke, 5 hours wrapped, 1 hour of a rest, and it is ready to go. Let's take a look at our pork butt. Yes, sir, that is looking absolutely amazing. Now, you remember at the wrap time, we put nothing in it but butter, honey, and brown sugar, but I want to show you something. Here goes a tray, and this is the juice that got rendered and came off it. That is a lot of juice, I gotta tell you. That's all the rendered fat, all of the evaporated water, and everything else that's part of it. Let's take it out of here. Oh, and it's so tender, it's literally falling to pieces as I'm taking it out of the tray and into my shredding dish. So we may as well carry on that process by grabbing our bones. There goes our joint. Then if we come through here, we can shred that up. Excuse me, not using the bear claws. I'm just trying to find the blade bone. And we know that this is good and tender. When all you need is that, you don't even need these bear claws over here. And that's how we're going to shred it up and make sure that it's absolutely incredible. Now, to get the finer shred, I'm going to grab my bear claws and we're just going to come through. Texture is important before flavor. Making sure that it's not too stringy, but we're also getting a nice bite on that is really, really important. Beautifully shredded right there. And now what I'm going to do is two things. That's lovely. There's a little wee couple of little tendons you just want to try and find in there. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab some of this juice that we just took out of it. And watch this. We're literally going to pour that back through. Now, some of you would just prefer to serve that just as it is, and it's just good to go. But for us, we've got one more stage. It's the under the hood original barbecue sauce. We made this for pork. It's paired beautifully. So let's crack that open because its moment has come. And we're super excited to work that all the way now through our pork. Simple as that. Use up the whole bottle, why not? And then use our bear claws one last time. And we're going to mix that through. Now, the taste test. You can see that beautiful bark, that beautiful crust, nice smoke ring. Sauce, the juice and everything. Let's taste it. That is a tangy, a beautiful juicy cut. It's sweet, but it's savory. And I just know that when I put this on my table and I serve it up, and a nice big mountain of pork, that we're gonna have ourselves a winner on our hands. This is absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we've just put this in a bowl because that's how we would normally present it. We're just gonna put on a little bit more sauce just for the sake of presentation's sake. And then we're gonna get into this. It's gonna be absolutely delicious. That's gonna go down absolutely outstanding tonight. So I can't wait to serve this one up, and I know that you will too. Let's get into it. Beautiful.